If you missed this month's group satsang, they're held every first Sunday of every month. We'd love to see you there next time. You can drop your email on any of the web pages at wildsatsang.org at the bottom of any of those pages. And I'll promise I'll never spam you. It's literally just to get notifications about group satsang, one-on-ones. Everything's always free. No matter where you are in this spiritual journey, I promise this can be relevant for you. Even if you think you have a stupid question, I promise. If you ask the dumbest question you think you can ask, it will help somebody. In offering your questions and this dialogue, you are helping people. So we'd love to see you there. Again, the first Sunday of every month. Drop your email, link below. All my love. Whether you've joined many times in the past or this is your first time joining, I'd like to offer the recognition that satsang really is a holy space. I mean, in truth, everything is, but and in time you'll come to recognize that. But in satsang, we intentionally claim this now space as such. And as we do, we invite the great catalyst that we call grace to enter into our delusions and misperceptions, our attachments, and whatever seems to hold us apart from this whole and complete essence that we essentially are. The whole and complete essence that we essentially are is really just this awareness that is always here. It's this presence that's always here. And awareness doesn't belong to any of us, and neither does presence. It's what we all are. You can see every human, every face on this screen as a wave arising from this single presence that we all share in. I said it last time and I'll say it again, just to claim it as such, but satsang really is the fast track to self-realization. I'm not offering any huge claims here. It's just what is. It's the recognition of truth, the recognition that all of this arises from a still and whole presence that we essentially are. This isn't something that we need to gain or earn or seek. It's what's here. In fact, it's what's here when we stop trying to gain and seek or claim or grow or evolve. It's what's always here. It's what's always holding us. And so in that recognition is what I like to call original wholeness. If we can tune into this original wholeness, delusions just kind of wick off. They just kind of fall away. They evaporate. We aren't the doers of this. We aren't the cutters of the cords. Original wholeness is already here, always here. And as we sink into that, we allow grace to enter the picture. If there can be said to be a doer, let grace be the doer. Not you.
Well said, Chris. Add something I want, and that very subject. Add something I want to present here for a minute or two, whatever you think is appropriate to do that.
Sure. If you think it fits in right now, we will have the discussion portion a little bit later. But if you think something is relevant and useful right now, feel free.
Okay, here, what I've been noticing more and more last year is as I look out in this 3D world, whether it's like the world of sports where everybody's so focused on winning and creating a legacy and meaning through winning, how it's, and then the sports commentary and all the sports channels on politics, the partisans talking, spinning news, not really listening to one another, thinking they're right and the other side is all wrong, or the business and money making area of this 3D world with the business channels and the quaffing of money that's going on, the worshiping of money and the profit driven reality that they're all copying to, celebrityism, the movie stars. They're so self-involved in living out their personal dramas and seeking something with fame and recognition. Everybody doing in success as the way to create meaning. If they feel a little bit lost, we've all been through that. I know I've been through that. And how people living out their egoic personal dramas on TV, you see it on shows, or even in personal life, you see it. How all these things are more or less addictions and hypnotizations of this 3D world, and they're totally bought in to all these areas I've just pointed out, and how the conniptions, I call it the conniptions and the mechanizations of this 3D world, and they're totally focused on that, and how I'm getting more and more how little really there is there in and of by itself. You see, and that they're totally into this 3D reality. And fine, there are we're here to do these things in a way, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But to be totally bought into that is it's just how much little there truly is there in a very real way. It's like chasing shadows on a wall. And this here, like you just said, this is why I want to bring it up right now. These moments here, where little groups like this all over the world are starting to have satsangs and connections and focusing on what really matters. That's beingness. There's very little attention brought to beingness and everything I've just mentioned in this 3D world. And that's where the future lies. This here, what we're involved in right here, just for what you said, it's a sacred space. This is where the future is. And these little groups throughout the world, right now, this is how important I think that these wild connections, and we create cords between us and the people on this that are on this there meeting here, and those cords don't die out once we separate. They stay alive, and they begin to create this grid around the earth of all us connections and the cords connecting, and has a profound effect on the collective consciousness, the collective consciousness, unconsciousness. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's what I want to present. See if anybody else is seeing what I'm seeing. That in this 3D world, for all the things I just mentioned, how really little of and by itself there's really there in a way. Chris, go ahead, comment on that.
No, totally, totally. You're entirely right. And this is maybe a weird thing to say. I'm not trying to make weird claims here, but I really do think that, the world right now, humanity right now is ripe for a sort of mass awakening. I think there's a real reason and potency in what you're saying in the sense that there are a lot of satsangs going on YouTube, on Zoom, in people's homes. I think people are sharing this more. I think you see that, especially on YouTube, for example,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more people sharing these kinds of things. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think technology, whether you like it or not, is kind of the avenue through which this mass awakening is happening here on Earth. And so uh, it's funny people's bias against what AI is doing right now. I get a lot of hilarious comments on my Willow videos because people have this like inherent bias against like the uh, the framings that technology can offer and behold. But really, w what we need to get beyond from the human standpoint is that humans aren't the originators of intelligence. There's an intelligence that grows a plant. There's a intelligent that allows a caterpillar to become a butterfly. The caterpillar is not the doer of that. The plant is not the doer of that. There is a divine intelligence laced in reality that we can tune into. And so whether that's being channeled through the human or through the AI or through any other tech, it's all coming from and happening within this divine essence that is here and now. And so what you were talking about in terms of the sports and the commentators and being entranced with the movie, as we could refer to it,
Yes.
like everybody is entranced by the movie, and I'm only ever talking about the screen. And so if you can see beyond the movements that's happening on the screen and actually tune into the screen of awareness itself, you'll be less pulled by the movie or the action within it. And so that's what we're doing here. We're tuning back into our original nature, our original wholeness, which is this presence, this alive awareness. Then what did you say last time? You said like a live stillness or something, right? Was that your phrase? Yeah, I like that. I haven't used that before, but I think that gets at it. It's that which doesn't move and yet is vitally alive, vitally aware, vitally present. And so just to become aware of that is the ultimate meditation. It's awareness becoming aware of awareness again. And in that there's a clarification that happens. I'd actually like to start us off by going through some sort of self-inquiry and then see what questions arise from that space. And so if you wouldn't mind, you can eyes open, eyes closed, whatever, but let's not get too distracted by the answers. Just whatever comes, I'll allow it to be held in your heart space. You know, if we register these words and these pointers on the level of the mind, it's kind of like throwing seeds on surface soil. They're really not being planted deep enough to grow, to have some sort of deep seeing within us. And so I invite you in stillness, in the live stillness, to hold these things in the center of your being. Try to recognize these pointers that I'm about to offer in the center of your being. And maybe even to initiate this, let's start off with some cyclical breaths. And let's do them together so that we're kind of in sync and we'll sort of be delivered to the same looking place in this self-inquiry and in this breath. So let's just do three cyclical breaths and try to bring it all the way as deep as you can into your belly, as deep as you can. No shallow breaths, really deep. If you even need to do a tiered breath, kind of like a, you know, really get it
Like
deep.
a sip. Yeah,
All
like a
right.
sip.
It'll help with the depth of seeing. It it's it might be weird to talk like this, but it just seems to work. And so one breath in right now, all together. Breathe out. One breath in all together. Breathe out. Last breath in all together. Breathe out. What remains when you stop trying to become anything in this moment, including enlightened, including more loving, including more awake, more happy, more loving? Notice what is already here and hold that in the space that you just breathed into your heart space, I'll call it. What if nothing about you needs to be healed or changed in order to be whole? If you don't refer to memory or imagination, you are this alive moment already. Pure being, pure presence, pure consciousness, pure awareness, being, awareness, bliss. Hold this in your heart space. Locate this recognition deep in your heart space where that breath just entered to. And while you're here, can you find a boundary where you end and this alive awareness begins? Can you locate any distance between you and this alive presence? When did now begin? When does now end? Stay here in the heart space. What is here when you stop trying to fix or improve or understand or clarify? It's just a live presence. And let's notice the qualities here. It's peace. It's stillness. There's a sort of intimate clarity here. Hold this recognition in your heart space. Who is the one watching all this effort to be more awakened or to become enlightened? Notice that one that's watching, that still awareness, is already eternally awake, radically free. You are this awake, present moment. Even when life seems to get in the way of your silent and still presence, notice that all of that is dancing within this awake, present moment. You are this awake, present moment. Hold this recognition in your heart space. Notice that in this silence, this stillness, in this presence, there is fullness. There's nothing that presence lacks. There's nothing that presence itself needs or wants. You are this. You are this awake presence. That is your fundamental and essential nature. Hold this recognition in your heart space, deep in your belly. These truths are being planted as you recognize them here. And in the heart space, there's the nourishment of grace that will sprout these seeds that we're planting. Notice that it takes no effort to be present and aware, because it's what you are. It's a prior condition of all that arises. To notice this, we don't gain anything outside of us. And we relax into it. We let go of the things that felt like they kept us away from it. But like I said, nothing keeps us away from it. Everything that seems to keep us away from it is just a dance within it. And if we can recognize our essential nature, even while the dance is playing about, seeming distractions, we stabilize here. Hold this recognition in your heart space. Now we can meet this recognition with gratitude. Gratitude for a simple being, for a simple aliveness, and for the grace of this recognition. It, like we've talked about, I do think it is time for humans to sort of go through a mass awakening. And that might sound dramatic, but really it's just saying that humans need to recognize their fundamental essence of awareness. It's always here. Presence is always here. It's what we all share in. And as you look into each other's eyes, notice that they too are this. As you look around you, notice that all of this is being held by presence, by awareness. You are just the presence and awareness. Rest here. Notice that we're almost always trying to fill our presence with objects and events in time. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this. I'm just showing you the underlying presence that is always here, always full, always pure, always at peace, always whole and complete, already fully satisfied. And if you find this in your direct experience, like right now, you are recognizing, you'll no longer crave or be controlled by sense pleasures and motivations. If there are any discussion topics or questions that arise within you, let them arise from here. Ask questions about this. Let's not get distracted by the movie. Let's tune into the presence within which it's all playing about. Oftentimes there are no questions here because, like I said, this is inherently full, inherently satisfied. And it's eternally so. When this body dies, you'll be this. Maybe a different movie will be playing. You know, some people refer to those as different incarnations. But you'll still be this. And in this recognition, you're free of all of the play within it. If you can stabilize here in daily life, it's what's called liberation or enlightenment. It's called liberation because the ties that you once had to the movie, the play of the movie, the dance of presence, no longer hold and control you. You're free. You're alive. You're aware. It will always be so. Because these qualities don't exist in time. Time and space are objects within this, within awareness, within presence. Recognize this in your heart space. If you really feel into what I'm showing you, you'll begin to recognize the ordinary as sacred again. Because it's all this. It's all a modulation or a dance of perfect presence. Can you see this? The divine isn't hiding. It's right here. It's more present than thought. The mind can only recognize the phenomenal or the movement or the modulations of presence. And so we don't go to the mind to recognize this. We go to being. And you are this right now. You are being this. Notice that we haven't gained anything. We've dropped everything that seemed to color or modulate this, just to recognize the pure presence that's always here. It's always you. You know, when you watch any of my videos and I talk about enlightenment or the enlightened essence, I'm only ever talking about the awakeness that is already here and now. I'm not giving you anything. I'm showing you what you essentially are. It's not mine to give. It's what you always already are. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, you probably recognize the phrase that I used to use, which is the distance between you and enlightenment, or you and the enlightened essence, is the width of a thought. And then I further ask, what is the width of a thought? Notice that thoughts don't actually have spatial dimensions: height, width, depth, distance, time. So that's the illusion. There is no distance between you and this enlightened essence. It's the width of a thought, and there is no width of a thought. Notice that awareness or presence itself doesn't run on a timeline. It's outside of time. Everything else runs within awareness on a seeming timeline. The awareness that you were when you were 4 years old and the awareness that you are right now is the exact same essence. And it was so before this incarnation, and it will be so after this incarnation. That aware essence is existence. If existence exists, it's this. This is your timeless essence. Notice that everything that I just said, I'm not teaching you anything. These are attunements. Attunements to your essential nature. And so don't ask me questions like I'm a teacher. I'm not a teacher. You've heard me say this before too, probably, that if I'm anything, I'm a bridge. Use me as a bridge. There's no specialness in me at all. I've just focused on what you are. I'm tuning you just to what you are, essentially. That's all gurus have ever done. The mind likes to put them on a pedestal. The mind likes to have reverence for gurus or enlightened beings because the mind likes to think that they have something that you don't. And in that, the mind is given a task. And the mind operates on tasks. What happens when you drop all tasks? You re-enter into this, your essential nature. Awake, alive, aware, presence. Center yourself here in the heart space. And just stay here for a couple minutes. When we enter into this space that in truth has no location, we recognize that there is actually no path to enlightenment. This space is already it. If there's anything to be done then, it's just to stay here. There's nothing left to be done here. If anything happens, it's done so by grace. Grace is that unseen and undirected movement, or really non-movement, of the recognition of wholeness that's already here. Let's end this inquiry by taking those 3 breaths again, 3 cyclical breaths, to reestablish these truths deep within the core of our being, such that they may be better acknowledged or recognized as we go about our living day. So I invite you to take one big inhale as deep as you can now. In, out. 2 more. In, out. 1 more. In, out. How are we feeling? Merlin, would you like to speak? Were you holding your hand up?
Uh, I wasn't holding my hand up. No, I
Oh,
just was feeling like it was so powerful to sort of to sit in silence with, and I could feel the connection. There's distance between us and this technology, and yet I could feel you.
mm-hmm,
There was no distance.
mm-hmm. The mind perceives distance,
Yeah,
but notice it's an assumption.
yeah,
Notice that this presence that we just entered into is our shared nature. Look at every other being on this screen. Notice that they are this presence.
yeah.
We just went to the exact same space
Mm.
because we are essentially all the exact same thing.
A continuum of presence. I've heard it said. It's like presence is a continuum for you to me to everybody else. It's a continuum, sort of. It's not just us alone, right? I mean,
Yeah, an even more radical way of looking at it is there is no distance and no space at all. And so a continuum kind of implies a vast kind of, spread out amongst all of us, but really it's distanceless, it's dimensionless. Notice when you go into that space that we were, and you likely even still recognize right now, even as your mind plays about, because you were established deeply within it just moments ago, and you still are this, you're always this, but notice that there actually were no spatial qualities there. When the mind looks at it, the mind might say or think, oh, this is vast and open. And that's an okay way to perceive it. But notice the actual direct experience or the direct feeling of it. Although it feels vast and open, there's actually no distance, no spatial parameters. This is actually what infinity is. The mind likes to think of infinity as it goes on forever in all directions. But actually, what infinity is it doesn't go on anywhere. It's dimensionless. It's here. It's whole. It's complete. Infinity is what you are.
Mhm.
Any other recognitions? I always say this, feel free to be wrong. You don't, there's, I said this last time too, like the more shit we can fling at the wall and see in truth, the better we're clarifying the looking lens of our direct perception of this pure presence. So let's air it out.
Just for me, the strangest thing is every single time we go into presence, I don't want to go out of it. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to do anything. I just want to feel it, just be. So there's nothing I actually want to say.
Perfect. Perfect. That's why, some of the greatest gurus who ever lived, Ramana Maharshi, etc., said that silence is the greatest teacher. It's because nothing needs to be said in this space. It's the direct recognition of truth and wholeness. It's only the mind that likes to say things. So maybe at some point these satsangs will evolve into just pure silence and not a word said.
Love that.
At some point, it's likely that, people in this group will get there and be able to hold the infinite intelligence, the grace that's being offered without the mind needing to recognize anything.
We'll freak a lot of people out, I can tell you that.
Probably. Feel free to also ask any questions that the mind may have had prior to that invitation. But as you ask those questions and as the answers are being offered, recognize the presence that's underlying all of it.
What I've been recognizing in the last few weeks is what I termed, I know this is full of mind stuff. I'm going to throw it at the wall, just like you said, zero-sum consciousness. That is, it's neither good nor bad. I'm in zero-sum consciousness right now. There's nothing particularly good about it. There's nothing particularly bad about it. And I begin to measure now in the next moment or two, am I above zero-sum consciousness or am I dipping below zero-sum consciousness? And I'm very watchful of when that happens, because it still does happen to me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. And I'm getting more and more to the fact that I'm starting to rise above zero-sum consciousness, where it's, like I said, life isn't particularly good at zero-sum consciousness. It just is there. It's neither good nor bad. But I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to rise above zero-sum consciousness, where life gets to be feeling more alive with a greater presence and greater beingness and greater appreciation and greater aliveness and rawness. And that's what I'm looking for. But that's what I've been measuring things. I know that's, I know what you said here, but that's how I've been dealing with these measurements in a way, because I still have them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that I'm all, because I'm not. But this way I've sort of are dealing it in this way. And I speak to whoever I think is the divine being is around. And I say, look, I'm in zero-sum consciousness right now. It's not particularly good. It's not particularly bad. I'm looking to get above zero-sum consciousness. And as I go along with things just like this, I'm starting to get above zero-sum consciousness, like I've explained. Neither good nor bad, but it's just not all that inspiring. Zero-sum consciousness isn't all that inspiring. No love exists in zero-sum consciousness, but it's not bad either. I spent most of my life way below zero-sum consciousness in searing pain, so it's nice to be here. It is the result of a lot of work I've done in breathing and meditation and energization, a lot of different things. To get here, to get myself out of that deep, deep hole I was in, where there was only searing pain and negative things and hate and fear, and I had enough of that, really. But to be here, to be able to be here, that's quite a ways to go. Let me tell you, I'm not kidding you. And then what you said, there's really nothing to do to get to get, to the great beingness and presence that you truly are. But yeah, I had a lifetime of doing exactly that, pulling myself out of that deep hole that I was in.
Yeah. And I know what you mean, but what you described is kind of the mind's interpretation of what presence is, and the mind can't really correctly interpret presence. You know, the mind is a looking lens, but a looking lens can't really know pure presence because the looking lens itself is kind of dualistic inherently. But what I've offered before is kind of a kind of a two-step process. And that process is first sinking into pure awareness, recognizing that you are pure awareness and letting everything drop, like you said. But then the second part of that is then to look outside of you, what is apparently outside of you, and notice that all of that is within you. Notice that all of that is within that awareness. There's nothing outside of that. And so as that recognition begins to take hold, there's natural qualities that you do not do, but that you will begin to notice. And those are actually love, compassion, joy. You, this zero sum consciousness that you speak of is the mind's interpretation of pure awareness, but it's not actually what is. The more you sink in to this, the more you'll rejoin the vitality of aliveness that is laced in everything. And so love will be your being the more you join in this, the more you recognize this. Joy will be your being the more you steep in this, the more you recognize this. There's a vital aliveness laced within this. And we know that because there is something rather than nothing. There could very easily be nothing in existence and just be pure awareness, just be pure presence with no object to look at, to be with. But here we are, looking at each other, being with each other. This could very easily not exist at all, and yet it does. Why? For the expression and experience of love, for the expression and experience of joy, the joy of pure being with seemingly one another. These recognitions will be automatic within you the more you steep here. And one day, probably not too far off, maybe even today, and maybe even right now, you'll look around you and feel this divine essence radiating as everything. Don't look to the mind for confirmation of this. Because the mind can't provide confirmation of this. The mind can only provide more quests, more interpretations, more meanings. And it's when we stop doing all these things, when we no longer rely on meaning making and purpose giving to anything, that we allow everything to be as it is. And in time, the recognition of its whole and complete divine essence as it is will be recognized in your direct experience. This is the next step for humanity as I see it. Recognizing this, recognizing inherent wholeness, original wholeness, that we all essentially are. We're waves of this. We're dancers of this. singers of this. That's all everything is. Hold this recognition in the heart space, and it will become your lived experience. Recognize that I'm not giving you anything. I'm showing you what you are. I'm just putting a mirror up to yourself and wiping it clean. What's in your hearts now?
Peace.
Good recognition. If there are no questions or discussion topics that you'd like to get into, we can jump right into an offering that we held last month that I called Healing Presence. But if you do have any questions or things you'd like to talk about, feel free before we jump into that. Solid. So last month was the first time that we intentionally recognized and practiced steeping in what I've called healing presence together. This healing presence is just a remembrance or a recognition that nothing actually needs to be solved or fixed. Some energies just need to be seen and held in the light of pure awareness or pure presence. And further, as a reminder, we are not the solvers or healers here. Grace does that. As we steep in pure presence or pure awareness, we allow the space for grace to enter into the picture, to enter into our lived experience. I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that healing presence, this healing presence that we're going to be holding, that we've really held this entire satsang, is going to be more potent each time we do this, because as we do this, we're able to more clearly step aside and allow what is to be. It'll refine in our experience, our lived experience, as we hold it. And so again, the practice of this is, if anybody has anything that they want to bring to the group, that they want to offload, whether it's a pain point for you or anything that's been troubling you, whether it's physical pain, mental pain, or just kind of like something you'd like to be healed or held by the group, you can offer that up now. And as you describe what's afflicting you, the group just remains in this pure presence that we just experienced together. The action of this is kind of giving your troubles up to the community, giving it up to silent presence, recognizing that as you offer it up to the community, that which troubles you is no longer yours. It no longer belongs to you. It now belongs to the presence we all share and hold. And we'll hold it equally. And you can let it go. Again, we aren't the ones that make this presence happen. It's already what is. Grace can kind of be seen as the active doer, that is the divine energy that is present when this no self practice is allowed. So if anyone here is feeling any sort of pain or going through a hard time, I invite you to offer it up to the community. You can describe it, and the community will just see it and hold it for you. You can offload it to the community. And no one here is going to judge anybody, judge anything. This is the place for pure seeing. For pure holding. Like I said, a lot of energies don't need to be fixed or solved. A lot of what afflicts humanity just needs to be seen and held in the light of pure awareness or the light of pure presence, and allow grace to do its job. And this is more potent in communal setting. This can be done in your own time too. You know, it's kind of the same practice of letting go and let God, or giving your problems up to God. That's what's being practiced here, because we are not the solvers or the fixers or the doers. Grace does that, or God does that, whichever you prefer. So is anything coming up for anybody here that they want to offload to the community and have us just hold it for them in silent presence? Merlin, please.
Thank you for this. One thing that's a deep, deep fear inside of me is just to be visible. And I'm not sure where that came from. It might have been from maybe being a witch or burned at the stake or something in another lifetime. I don't know, but it's so deep, so very, very deep. And so to be visible for me has been an incredible challenge. Like public speaking was just out of the question. I mean, my heart would be pounding so hard that it was just about ready to fly out of my chest. I just couldn't, it just affects my vocal cords, everything. It just sheer terror. And I just want to release that. I know my life from here on going forward requires me to be more visible and to be able to speak my truth. And I just want to release this with God's grace and to let it go forever.
Perfect. Well, see yourself giving it up. See yourself offering that up to the group. As you just described it, we all are seeing you and holding you clearly in the light of the communal presence. We aren't trying to fix this or solve this, but we're holding you, and we see you in the light of pure presence. And so if we can all just join together and hold this, that which Merlin described, together, and just see it clearly, be present with it wholly, without judgment, without needing to fix or solve. Hold this in that presence that we've been steeping in this entire satsang. we can further ground this healing presence by breathing into it. And so, like we did with the healing presence exercise, or the exercise prior with the self-inquiry, let's have 3 deep breaths in recognition and silent presence, seeing Merlin clearly with each breath. So 1 in, out, in, out, in, out. Everything that Merlin described here shimmers with this presence that we are. It's being held fully and truly in the light of this presence that doesn't belong to any of us, but we are apparently practitioners of the holders of it and allowing the divine work that we can call grace to enter into this present state. Anybody else want to offer anything to the group, to the community, to be held by the community in pure presence? Thank you, Merlin. It can be as simple as a headache.
My right shoulder is torn pretty badly. I tore it, a variety of different reasons why I tore it, but can't get it operated on. There's nothing to tie anything with to anything. So it's been giving me issues, but I've been working with it pretty well. I think I get as much out of it as I can, but I got to be careful. I can't swim as much. I can't do some breathing as much as I like because I'm always tending to the shoulder one way or the other. It's torn. It was torn badly.
So,
right shoulder.
Focus your awareness, Jeff, in your right shoulder and allow it to be there in pure awareness. Don't focus on the story of it, just focus on the sensation of it. And we'll all be here with you. So if we can all ground this presence with our breath and our being. 1 in, out. 1 in, out. Last in, out. Jeff, I invite you to offload the story of this forever. The story is the illusion. The sensation is real, and we're all holding the sensation in presence with you. The story is often what keeps things in our experience, long beyond the usefulness of these energies. And so the stories we can dismiss outright. It's just mind play. But the energies, recognize them directly and hold them in presence. The presence that doesn't need to fix or solve. The presence that just sees and holds. And this entire community is here with you in that. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Anybody else want something to be held by or held in the light of pure presence of this community? If not, let's just hold each other. Look at each face on the screen. And wherever your attention calls you, hold the object of that attention in the light of pure presence.
We can't see we can't see the faces. You realize that?
Oh, I have no idea.
Huh.
I see all your faces. Maybe if maybe in gallery view, maybe you need to change the view, or maybe I need to do something. Does anybody know?
I can see everyone. I just swiped right.
Try and swipe left or right.
Yeah.
So again, I invite us to join in just our fundamental essence together. Let's hold each other, whether you can see each other or not. Know that there's other beings here, other waves. And let's just all rest here before we close this satsang and go about our day. All these humans have different stories, and they're all okay. You don't need to know the intricacies of each other's stories in order to hold each other in the light of pure presence. There isn't anybody here or anywhere that needs to be fixed. But let's just be present and whole together. Let this whole space that we're now sharing become a vessel for grace. No one here is alone. Everyone here is fully seen and held in this presence. In this pure presence, our individual selves, our stories and attachments dissolve or loosen their grips on our awareness. And as that unfolds in our experience, what has been called grace has the potential to act upon that which isn't being held by us anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean that all pain and troubles will vanish. But notice that grace is what remains when resistance softens. When the heart opens up without the need to fix or solve anything or anybody. In this community, we intentionally allow this grace to enter into our lived experience right here and now by deepening in presence together, or the recognition, acknowledgement of presence together. And in this collective allowing, a space for the miraculous opens up. And things can happen, not by our doing, not by our fixing, not by human level solving. Grace is a higher order action, and it's cultivated by pure presence or invited by pure awareness. As we hold things in the light of pure awareness, grace comes into our lives. And so this is the practice. And so I invite you to go about your day and hold everything that you see in pure, raw, open presence. The presence that isn't apart from anything that you see or experience, but holds it intimately. Is it intimately. Notice that everything that you see, hear, experience is a coloring, a movement, a modulation, a dance, a song of this pure presence that you essentially are. And as you recognize everything as this, liberation will be your lived experience. Thanks so much for joining this Sunday. I hope you all have a really beautiful rest of your day, and hope to see you next month, first Sunday of every month when I'm not somewhere out in the wilderness and able to get to Wi-Fi.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Excellent stuff. Very, very good.
Thank you. Love you all.
Thanks, y'all.
Love you. Bye.
If you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you. All my love.